And then walking into other people's who didn't wear the mask and that little nod to each other from, yeah, you got it.
Yeah, that was great.
It all starts at school when you're young. The school bell. That's your first form of conditioning. Ding!
Yep.
They let me double my first grade in lower school because I was too much to play still. I didn't want to learn.
You got to have some kind of alert though to know, hey, it's starting. Let's go.
Yeah, well, that's part of the conditioning, bro.
I don't know. I just think that's just an alert, like, hey, time to do the thing you're supposed to be doing. I don't know. Like if they didn't ring the bell, what would they have? They would just have somebody outside going, "Hey kids, it's time for class," or something. You know what I mean? Or like, what do you do?
Oh, just have teachers doing their job.
Just look at the setup, right? The cafeteria in the school, the cafeteria at work, and the cafeteria in the prison system.
Well, how are you going to feed a group of kids?
Yeah, it's places for people to eat. What are you talking about? I have the cafeteria in my house. It's called the kitchen. Just a smaller one.
No, just think about what I'm telling you, though. All bell system, right? Bell, ding. What about recess? When is recess? The bell, right? Ding. Coffee break, the bell. It's conditioning.
Pavlov.
Wasn't there a conspiracy where they actually melted all the bells? It was something with the bells, like that were giving off good vibes or something. I don't know. There was some bell conspiracy I heard before.
But I think of that as like the militaristic programming, the way they figured out how to control people, treat us like mice kind of thing in a maze with, the Pavlovian impulse response and, to kind of build us into more robotic and, because that's the way the military is, follow instructions, be on time, do this, do that. It's not like a freewheeling thing where you can be yourself and be who you are. It's the opposite of that. It's, be here, don't do this, all of the rules and structure that are kind of extreme in my viewpoint and kind of inhumane. Like, I don't think humans are designed, but yeah, it makes me think of the militaristic kind of framework that they built it all on that kind of fuels that.
Yep, exactly, bro. One person at the top giving orders, everybody sitting down and listening, multiple choice questions, all that, saluting the flag, singing the national anthem, bringing the TV in when they want to see you to watch certain events like the moon and the 9/11. It's all part of the system.
Oh, we had in high school, we had Schindler's List. We all had to go see it with all the school.
Oh yeah, let me ask you about that. How many films did you have to go see about the other genocide, the Armenian genocide? And did they ever teach you that in school? I'm curious.
None of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, all that conditioning sounds a bit like Discord.
Yep.
All I did in school was getting bored and getting thrown out because I wasn't going with the system.
Wait, what did you just say about Discord? Talk about the word Discord or the social media platform? Just the word Discord.
I said the system of control sounds a bit like Discord, a bit like the experience on Discord.
Oh, I misunderstood you.
I don't feel it.
Much worse.
Those related.
A hierarchical system, of controllers, people who have a mod button or silencing button, that kind of thing.
Okay, hold on, Elderbear. Would you rather have no moderation? Is that how you like to spend your time? Everybody can shout over each other, scream and yell. Is that what you'd prefer? Would you spend your time here if that's what it was?
So structure and organization.
For example, I'm going to talk over you right now, and then 5 people are going to talk. Do you think you'd like it like this? This is a good structure.
People generally do.
Oh, I'm going to talk over you again. Yeah. Do you think you'd spend your time here? You see, if you kept getting, you see, there might be a need. You see how it is. You see how it is. See, this is why we need moderation because blah 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 blah. Do you understand now why we need moderation? Bloggity bloogity bleep blop. Do you understand why we need moderation now? Because if not, it would be like this, and nobody would ever be able to hear anybody. So that's why we need moderation, and that's not the same as totalitarian psychopathic dictatorship that we're talking about. Although some servers might be run like that, but it's not what.
So the school system is a psychopathic control system?
Absolutely. Without any question of doubt.
You went to a strange school, man. You went to a strange school.
So
I was only talking. I know that was obnoxious. I was only talking over you and making complete audio chaos, which I would never normally do, to just show you that moderation is needed. So if you think that you somehow like having no moderation at all, nobody would spend their time anywhere because it would just be complete audio chaos. Now, I'm not saying some people don't misuse that. Certainly, people do. They misuse the ability to mute people or do all of that. And I could name many servers I'm very aware of that misuse it profoundly. So if that's what you're referring to, I hear you there. But just to say all of Discord is not accurate.
Yeah, imagine.
All of Discord. I don't know whether I said all of Discord. I said Discord. But, you heard me, but you wanted to go to another extreme and just to push your thing. You heard what I said, though, because you acknowledged it.
Well, he is the owner of the server, so you could understand how he could have taken it, right?
Well, that's because people do that, don't they? You don't have to do that.
Well, so I would agree. Like a control system with a hierarchy is kind of what we're talking about, like school systems and the authorities and all that. And yeah, I would agree. Discord as a social media platform, if that's the part you're saying. I mean, I was kind of like making a joke and just kind of playing around. I was just commenting on one part of your point. But I would also agree if you're talking about like in terms of getting into that relation, it is interesting how Discord, like different than other social media platforms, does have the potential to make a hierarchy more so than other places. Where you can have the owner, the moderators, all of that. So then you can create kind of almost like a government, a little mini government where you have sort of the structure of like I don't see myself as some president. I'm not saying that of having the ownership account for the server. However, I'm just saying in general, you can set up a Discord server where you can have a president and then a whatever. You can have all kinds of different layers, and then you can. So I do agree that like social, if that's what you're saying, like Discord does seem to allow for sort of like a certain type of control structure that kind of like mirrors society in certain ways, and then how you use it and how you apply that. And that's why so many servers are all different. But if that was the point you're making, I would agree with that part of it. I was also just kind of playfully responding to the other part about that if you have no moderation at all, then that's the issue. Then it becomes completely chaotic. So there's a balance in between.
It's not so prevalent here on this server, but there is some vindictive mod teams elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree. 100% agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, but we live in times where there's not everything you can put online and talk about, because some things will get your server kicked off. So some things you just can't talk about.
Like horizontal, for instance. Ooh. Yeah.
But that's not
most people shut down the stuff that's TOS, don't they? That's okay.
Yeah, we still live in a time where TOS will prevent certain conversations to be taken place, but thankfully there's the open square in some countries that can still happen.
Yeah, it seems some people can defy the TOS when they have a position of power.
Yeah, Elderbear, do you think the education like if you could rate the education system in your country on a scale of 1 to 100, 100 being the most ideal, where would you rate them in your humble opinion? I mean, you have to include with accuracy of information, etc. And thank you.
Well, I think there are some benefits. I couldn't say it was 0 or anything like that, because with my kids, I see that they are getting educated to a certain level, but it's they're not really teaching them much at all. Really, it's very prescribed. For instance, I went to my daughter's parents' evening in the high school and spoke to them. I might just drop out and drive in a second. Hang on.
I'm curious. The Bell system, right? Check this out now. How many people were taught finance in school? How many people were taught how to balance a book, what credit is, what interest is, what a home mortgage loan is? How many people were taught that?
Yeah, I did that in second grade of my high school, but it was in the direction I was going in at the moment.
I remember they taught us how to write checks.
You were taught that?
Yeah, they taught us how to write checks and stuff. Yeah.
Imagine they gave us 9 years of that.
Yeah, it was a whole class called economics.
Yeah, I'm really glad they taught me how to write checks.
That was boring as fuck.
So they taught you how to write checks, but did they teach you how to make money in order for you to have a check to write?
Right, start a corporation.
Well, that's the whole purpose of the school system, is to dump you into some, industry.
They had some classes on woodworking and stuff like that, but my favorite is the math teacher telling us you're going to have to learn this because it's not like everyone's going to be walking around with a calculator in your pocket in the future.
It's when the math teacher says, "I don't know the answer to this question." That's when it gets worrying.
Well, my daughter, I've got a signal, I think. My daughters go to her parents' evening, and this is a while back. And I go to see the history teacher, and I said, "Oh, what are you teaching?" And they said, "Oh, we're doing the Hitler and the Weimar Republic." I said, lots of, there seems to be a lot of interest in that subject, specifically, so because the kids don't seem to have learned a linear view of history, that started at one place and then came the Mongols and and the kings and queens and all that. They don't have that. He said, no, not really. He said, after we're doing this, we're going to do the Cold War and the Romans.
They chop it all up in sections. If you ever heard of that Fomenko guy, I think his name is Fanko, Fakamo. He goes over. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in history.
Yeah. So that was just 3. So that was it. And then I go to the science guy and I go in this room and he pushes 3 bits of paper across the desk. I said, what's that? He said, physics, chemistry, and biology. I said, wow, do you teach them all? He said, yes. I said, wow, I had a different teacher for each subject at one, And I looked around this small room. There were some Bunsen burners and stuff. I said, do they do many experiments? Not really, he said. So I said, my daughter was there. I said, so she's got to remember what you tell her. And when it comes to the exam, she's got, as long as she remembers as much as she can, you'll then give her in exchange for that a piece of paper with a number on it. So I then said to my daughter, I said, what you have to do is you've got to just get as many pieces of paper with the highest number on. That's all this is. And then that'll give you access to the next door. And maybe they'll say, okay, how many people have got 3 pieces of paper with the number 6 on? And then you go, oh, yes, I have. And then they say, right, stand in line with the other 1,000 people and we'll see if one of you will give a job to. And it seems to be a bit like that. Just they're not really teaching them.
I don't know.
That's my experience.
I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit of a gross misrepresentation of the core of it. I mean, you've got upper math, algebra. Do you think you could do algebra if you haven't taken general math? I mean, it's a stair step. You have to know the foundational information to do the more advanced stuff, right?
Yeah, it didn't used to be that. I can only measure it against my experience of school, which is very different, very different.
Yeah, I can comment on that because my daughter comes home and she still doesn't know. She's expected to watch videos and she still doesn't know. She has no intention to know and want to know because it's just, but the point is that's why I'm there. The parents are doing more of the work than the teachers are. The teachers are doing more work than they ever were, but covering a broader field.
Yeah, I mean, there's an increase in numbers in the UK of kids who leave school with bad literacy and bad numeracy. And it didn't used to be like that. So that's increasing. I think they're trying to make a disconnect between the parents and the method of education, in that if I sat down with my daughter to do some maths and I do the method that I would use, she will resist it because it's not what they do and it's something totally crazy, a really, really strange system. So if they want to multiply something, they'll say, well, what's the closest number? Oh, let's go to 100. Okay, it's not quite 100. They don't just, like if I was dividing, I'd make a box, and I could do it in my head generally, but I'd make a box and divide it into the numbers and do the subtraction underneath and come up with a total kind of thing. If I showed her that method, she would resist it. And then
have you learned her method thoroughly? Like thoroughly learned her method?
Yes, I have. But what I'm saying is that they keep doing that. They keep changing it, and
my experience with that math technique is that it is vastly superior for way more kids, my own included. Like, there's a reason to that. It's not really a conspiracy or anything. Like, it is a more methodological, deeper understanding of math than rote memorization and multiplication tables. Like, now, a lot of parents complain because they don't want to learn that new method, but it's amazing in the end.
I don't see that in increased numeracy and literacy in the kids.
What age are they? Your daughter?
My youngest is 11.
Oh, okay.
And the other one's left school. But the
11-year-old.
No, the youngest one. Sorry, the youngest one is 9. But
did they start with that style of math, like at kindergarten?
It's a different system. They didn't learn times tables. They didn't learn the multiplication tables. They didn't learn that at all. So they were kind of lost for quite a while before they had that number in their head.
It does take longer.
I wanted to ask SD something, kind of continuing a little bit on this. So just whenever you guys wrap this up, let me know. But you guys are kind of getting into some particulars. Yeah. I was just wondering.
Right, the other thing about the young one is that the last year she said, "Oh, we've been doing science." I said, "Oh, what have you been doing today?" So we've been talking about where we live. I said, "Oh, yeah, what were they talking about?" She said, "Well, today they told us that the Earth is a sphere and it's not flat." And I said, "What?
Wow.
You sure? Is that what they spoke about?" She said, "Yeah." And then they had to play this role where one was the boss and one was the secretary. And they had these examples of what would be flat and what would be globe. And they had to kind of work out. Yeah. They had to work out. I'm not joking. They had to work out which one was which. And I said, what were the examples? So one was boats going over the horizon.
Wow, bro. What grade?
I remember the second. So that was in her 5th year. 5th year. Well, she's 9. That would have been about 9 years old. And one was a Chinese proverb. Some Chinese, they said it was a conspiracy theory to do with celestial objects. And I said, wow, that's incredible. I said, and so I went to see the head, and I spoke to the head and said, what's that about? Is national curriculum, or was it just a teacher who came up with that as a lesson plan? And he said he wasn't sure and directed me to somebody else. And,
is it a Jesuit school?
Sorry?
Is it a Jesuit-based school?
No. It's just a standard school, right?
Okay.
And so then she directed me to the science teacher, but I couldn't get hold of this woman. She was never around. And then so I spoke to her class teacher, and asked him, and he said it was curriculum. It was a national curriculum. They have to make lesson plans around the national curriculum. But he was it was a bit strange. So I was talking to him about that, saying, why talk about the not that? If you don't think it's flat, what's driving that for you to talk about? Because obviously, they've got the planetarium and all that, and they're teaching about the globe in a general sense. But then they bring in this subject of flat, which I'd never heard in that subject before. So I said, well, what's driving that? Is it the internet, the media, something? He wasn't really clear. But he went back into the class, and my daughter said, oh, he was late. The teacher was late, and he moaned that he had to talk to you in the playground, and he was late. And then they went and he talked with his assistant. My daughter heard him, and they were obviously talking about the gerund beyond the curve thing. So the teacher was,
that's amazing.
Yeah, no, serious. Yeah, and he was talking about they were talking about that, and I thought, wow, that's strange. So I went to see him again the next day and said, oh, well, I spoke to you yesterday. I said, I hope you didn't get the idea I was a flat earther or something, did you? He said, no. What would make you think that? I said, well, my daughter overheard you talking about flat earthers and things like that. I said, I wouldn't want you to think that. And he said, no, of course not. I said, that's good, all right. I said, but, horizontal is horizontal, though, isn't it? And he said, well, it depends. It's depends. It's all about perspective. I said, there you go, and left him. But I was amazed, and I spoke to another couple of teachers that I've known, and said, is that recent? And they said it's been about 4 years that they've been talking about the flat Earth in terms of where we live to the kids. So that was very interesting.
Kids were.
All right, well, let me.
I'll stop now. Go on.
No, since several people may want to get in, I just want to say real quick. Everyone can have their chance to respond if they want, because there was a lot there. Okay, so if there may be, like what you're saying, like within the recent years, because of that documentary, and maybe more teachers are aware of it, things like that. However, in my general understanding, in most of these first world country schools, is that it's pretty standard that in their curriculums is to have not only the globe Earth teachings, but to mention, even the term flat Earth, and that people used to think the Earth was flat, and they were desert wandering, people that didn't know any better, and these kinds of things. And they'll even use it with like sort of ridicule. Oh, they used to think it was flat. Ha. Now we know it's a globe, and all these advancements. Look at your computers and cell phones. It's a globe. This is the main, coup de grace of what we, discovered. It's the finale of our, whatever their whole the kind of centerpiece to their whole system. So I'm just saying it is pretty common in schools. Like, I mean, at least since World War II, to kind of use this like disparaging ridicule against quote unquote flat Earth, and how they were so, and then to push the globe. And that's why people seem to have the programmed response. When you mention the term flat Earth, they usually will do just that, that programmed response based on that. So I'm saying it is, I don't know, like I can't speak for every school system in every country, but at least in these first world countries and in the United States, it is part of that curriculum to mention flat Earth in a disparaging way, and then to, push the boats over the curve and pictures of globes and, and all the other claims that the technology is all, a breakthrough connected to that whole system.
Well, I mean, I think that a lot of the technology is like reliant on our understanding of the shape of the Earth as a globe, and the like Einsteinium like kind of gravity.
Okay, but did anyone else want to respond? I hear you on that. Those are maybe you just jumped in, but did anyone else want to respond? It's all right. We could go into some of those, but there was a point Ellie just made. We're talking about kind of schooling systems and how they teach the global stuff. But I hear what you're saying there too, though. But did anyone else want to carry that forward?
From a Roman Catholic,
it was just it was just in my experience. That's amongst children I know, and I know educators. My wife's a head teacher, so I know about what's going on with the education and the pitfalls and all that kind of thing. So, it was the first time I'd come across it in the curriculum, firsthand. So it was just interesting. Hadn't heard it before brought up in terms of where we live and geography and that kind of subject. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Gio, you said that it was part of the curriculum to disparage flat Earth. Hang on, Jen. God. So, what Gio said, that it was part of the curriculum that disparaging flat Earth is in the curriculum. I wouldn't doubt that. I would be surprised if that were actually part of the curriculum.
What do you mean that they tell the teachers, quote unquote, disparage flat Earth? You mean like that? Well,
yeah, write it in their syllabus. for instance.
No, it is though, because they call them stupid. They say that they were, desert wandering primitive people, with a bit of that chuckle, haha, they were so primitive and unadvanced, and they didn't know what we know now and all this stuff. So, now to what degree is that like, given to teachers to do that, or to what degree is that one of those kind of programmed things that kind of like a virus or whatever kind of idea or whatever just spreads? So is that what you're saying? Like whether they're told to make it disparaging or whether that would be interesting. I mean, it does seem like the wording is like in the textbooks is directly disparaging, because that's why people have the reaction when you say flat earth. They usually have that whole reaction of haha, so stupid, dumbest thing I've ever heard. That's why they do that, because that programming of, oh, they were so dumb and stupid in the past and now we're so advanced and smart, look at us. I mean, that's the main kind of program. That's why so many people respond that way.
Is it disparaging though, or is it just saying this is what was known at the time and then new information came in and what we knew was then updated?
Well, from what I understand, I know in the States that the teachers they write their own lesson plans. I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, and they don't follow necessarily a fixed national curriculum, but they do in the UK. Unless you're in private schools, then they can make their own curriculum. But so it will have come from a centralized government curriculum.
Yeah, same here.
To follow the lesson plans. So and they're Ofsteded. They have a body who comes round and called Ofsted that is a governing body over the education. But so it may be different for other people's experiences.
Do you know what made the news the other day? I couldn't remember the guy's name, but it was a top scientist. Flat earthers, there's nothing more. They're just stupid. That came from a top scientist.
What do you guys remember in school, like when you were taught the globe? What did you guys remember when you were taught the globe? Did you? Oh my gosh, hold on, Jen. You're all delayed and hold on. All right. No, I was just gonna say, Allison, if you want to get in too, but I was just gonna say, like, what do you guys remember when you were in school? Like, do you remember when they talk about the globe and stuff? Did they disparage a flat Earth and the people that used to be, desert wandering nomads that didn't, what were your experiences? I guess you could ask.
My only experience with hearing about the Earth being flat is, I think that was taught in school had to do with, Christopher Columbus times.
Well, yeah, they kind of say like, oh, Christopher Columbus would have fallen off the edge of the earth and he didn't fall off, but he found America. Yeah. And then they kind of laugh at that and, oh, you'd fall off the edge and stuff. It's kind of like,
I don't know. Like that was never the vibe. I'm not sure what your classrooms are like, but I never had that happen to me ever. There was never like this disparaging with this whole, I don't know. I just never experienced this. And it could have, we have different contexts. So
you don't remember growing up, like the idea of a flat earth being in any way looked upon negatively or being like mocked or ridiculed or anything?
No, I remember it looked upon as being wrong based on what we knew.
I never heard about it.
It wasn't like, oh, let's point out the person who believes this, or, you know what I mean? I don't know. I never, no.
No, I agree with that. There wasn't any of that because back then there pretty much weren't any people that really said the Earth was flat that I'm aware
Sure,
of. Like, yeah. So yeah, there wasn't like that thing the way there is now where people say, "Oh, you're a flat earther" and point the finger. There wasn't really that. There was more, I think, just in general, like of just the general kind of mocking, ridiculing tone and whatnot, just around that people used to think it was flat kind of thing. More of that rather than people think it is today.
And that's like that goes for anything with science, though, right? Like there is like what we knew, and then new information came, and then we update it. I don't know. I keep saying the same thing, but I don't.
So when
there were pictures where they showed like the edge, like you're gonna fall off the edge. I remember this.
Coffee. What is in your mouth?
Yeah. So when I was driving for Uber, I used to actually test people on this without like giving them any kind of insight, like without trying to like put anything in their head. I would just want to see like where they were at, and whenever I mentioned like anything flat Earth, okay, I would ask them what they pictured in their head. All right. And everybody gave me the exact same answer. A boat like the Mayflower falling over the edge of something that looked like Asgard.
Yeah.
And so like that imagery had to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And it was
when Christopher Columbus thought there, right?
Yeah. So
remember the movie The Sorcerer in the Stone?
Yeah.
You guys remember?
Please
yeah, so like the wizard is showing the kid different things, and one of the things is like a flat Earth in the movie. I can find the clip.
No, but I guess that does contribute to conceptualization, like something that you saw as a child, because we were talking about like how it was taught to you, or you know what I mean, your conceptualization of what that was, or the people that believed that.
Yeah, I think that like it's a common misconception that like Christopher Columbus, went out to prove the Earth was a globe, or like that he would have fallen off, because it was common knowledge at the time that the Earth was like a globe, and I really don't know where the myth started that like it was for some reason that people think that he like thought the Earth was flat, or that it was like still held belief at the time.
I'd never heard about it until the last 3-4 years, maybe. Just whisperings of it. Only in the last couple of years that I thought, I'll just go and see what it's all about.
Yeah, I never heard of it until the COVID thing hit, and with